Clean and Fight Dirty YouTube show. Today's topic: a lot of martial artists say that they fight dirty when using self-defense for the street. But what does that mean exactly, and how is that any better or different from cage fighting? So today, as usual, per every week, we are here with UFC coach John Hackleman, and we're going to break this concept. You titled this Fight Dirty. What does it mean to fight dirty? How do you want to, where do you want to start with this, John?
I think this is more of like a Kaji Kempo thing. I mean, the word "fight dirty" obviously is not exclusive to Kaji Kempo, but a lot of Kaji Kempo guys, love old school, and they say, fight, live clean, fight dirty, train hard, fight, live clean, fight dirty, whatever. Um, but I'm thinking back to one of my original fights. And I remember I trained really hard because I knew I was going to get in a fight really soon at school. So I was training really hard at Godin's, and just I soaked in everything I could, training wise, because I knew I was going to need it. And that first big fight, and I say big fight because a guy picked on me, and he picked on me, and I stood up to him, and then the teacher broke it up, and we set a time. So I think I told you guys about that, but anyway, we set a time and a place. So like the fight was on Friday. We're fighting in the cafeteria, and we started fighting, and he was surprised I didn't back down. But the teachers came and broke it up, and he said, "I'll see you at the back campus Monday at 10 a.m." So the back campus was, if you guys know Kamiki Intermediate, 18th Avenue, right where the bus stop is. So that's where a lot of the fights would happen. So all weekend, I went surfing a lot that weekend, and I did a lot of training, practicing stuff, because I knew I was nervous as hell. It's the first time I actually got into a fight that was arranged already. Usually something would just happen, like you're walking at the mall or you're walking at the beach and somebody bumps into you, next thing you're fighting. This one was, "I'll meet you at the back campus Monday at 10." So it was like a planned fight, so mentally I was just trying to get rid of, get ready for it. I was like 12 years old, maybe 13. So I'm ready for this fight. He meets me there, and a crowd of people showed up. So there's a crowd of people, me and him, and we started going. And I remember kicking him. Wasn't in the face, it was probably in the chest. I remember kicking him really hard because he didn't have a shirt on, and that really makes it whack, And I kicked him, and I just remember everybody saying, yelling, "That's cheating. You can't fight. You can't kick." And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? I can kick. I can fucking. That's part of fighting. What are you talking? It's not a boxing match. I didn't actually say all those things because I was still fighting at the time. But I remember hearing them say that. So we kept fighting. I ended up winning, and that always stuck with me. That's cheating. And I realized that Americans, they're used to putting up their dukes and just boxing. They think taking down or doing takedowns or kicking or something else. They think that's dirty fighting. They just want to, Marcus of Queensberry box. And I'm fine with that if that's what the rules are of engagement are agreed upon. But then let's fast forward now. That was probably 1973. Now fast forward to like 1985, and I'm in a fight at a bar that I'm working at as a bouncer. And I kicked the guy out, and there's a big space because it was the parking lot, and all the bouncers stood up in the front. There's a line of people waiting to get in. It was called the Sagebrush Cantina. It was in Calabasas, California. So I kicked the guy out, and he immediately shoved me as soon as we got outside, and challenged me to a fight. So I put my dukes up. We started fighting. I kicked him. I beat him up. I get a call that night by the owner of the bar. The owner, I can't remember his name, but he liked us getting in fights because he wanted to have a tough reputation. He loved that reputation. I mean, Hell's Angels used to go in there, and then movie stars. I mean, it was a very eclectic club. But he called me and he goes, "Man, I heard about that fight this weekend, and I saw the video of it, and you did really good, but I don't want you ever kicking again during a fight because I kicked the guy." I was like, "What? Why?" He goes, everybody, they like to see you kick somebody's butt, but Americans don't like to see kicking. They think it's dirty fighting. And I don't want my bouncers doing that. So if you have to fight someone, just use your hands. I don't care what you do to them, but just use your hands. And I remember thinking, that is so bizarre, but okay. So anyway, so that's dirty fighting. Okay. So that's a far stretch from where we started with Kajikempo. But so what is dirty fighting? In the street, there's no rules. What is dirty? Right? In the cage, it's easy. There's rules made out. They're written out. They know what the rules are. Like this weekend, perfect example. Johnny Walker. He got kneed while he was on the ground. That's a big no-no. It's a it's talked about by the referees. They tell you about that. You going in, your coaches teach you that. But he kneed Johnny when Johnny was actually on the ground. Big foul. That is dirty fighting. If I did that to someone in the street who attacked me or my family, that's not dirty fighting. That's just defending myself. So what could be dirty fighting in the street or in the cage is just protecting yourself in the street. So dirty fighting, when they say fight dirty, when the Kajikembo guys say fight dirty, I get a little confused. Like, what does fighting dirty really mean? And what I think they mean is just fight with everything. Fight with everything you have. Just put it all out there, gouge them in the eyes, kick them in the head, do whatever you got to do and fight. So I think it's just a way of saying like, we're tough, it's a tough art and let's go. We're going to go. If you start a fight with me, anything goes. I'm going to defend my life all the way till even if it means ending yours. And I think that's what they mean by fight dirty. What do you think?
Well, so it's funny when we start talking about fighting dirty. For Kajikembo guys, whenever I post, every once in a while I'll do one of the Kajikembo guys asked me to do a grappling series, and I had to specify in that series that this is not Kajikembo self-defense. This is just grappling for strikers that wanted to get into MMA. I had to say that because when I just put up the first video without saying that, a lot of Kajikembo guys were like, that's not Kajikembo. I would have bit him. I would have bit him. I would have punched him in the groin. If I'm going to get out of close guard, I'm going to punch him in the groin or poke him in the eye to try to get out of close guard. So later I realized I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to specify what this series is about because for Kajikembo guys, when they're talking, like you said earlier, fighting dirty, they're going to start doing stuff like eye gouging and stuff. But in my experience as a Kajikembo guy, that's how I saw it until I started training for MMA and I found out that there's things that are considered fighting dirty. I mean, the knee one is an obvious one, right? Guys on the ground in MMA, you knee them on the ground. In some promotions, like the UFC, not allowed. But there's smaller stuff that you can do that'll piss off MMA guys if you don't know the rules. And one of the things I did when I got to Japan was they had me square off with a guy and we had the MMA gloves on. And as he came in, I grabbed his rash guard and I held onto it and started punching him in the face and popping him. And they immediately grabbed me. They broke me up. They said that was dirty because you're not allowed to grab the rash guard. Very dirty fighting, which to me, I thought I already took it down a notch by not eye poking or biting or any of the stuff that we just mentioned. So I think it's funny that there are
But
levels
that's a
of fighting
sport.
dirty.
You're talking about sport fighting though, right?
Yeah, I was talking sport, but we were
Yeah.
sparring. We weren't even sport. Like it wasn't even a match. It was just sparring. And I grabbed the guy's rash guard because that's we're wearing rash guards, right? Or they're wearing rash guards. I was wearing a t-shirt. I grabbed his rash guard and started punching him. And I didn't know that you're not allowed to grab the rash guard, like pants, rash, because
Yeah.
they're doing MMA rules. So they're not allowed to grab the clothes. I didn't know that as a Kajikimbo guy trying out MMA for the first time. I didn't know that. So like there's like little things that would be considered. The Kajikembo mind is always thinking something super extreme, like an eye poke or biting or gouging, not realizing that if you're talking about sport fighting, dirty fighting means a totally different thing. Here's some comments real quick. Let's just give a quick shout out to hello to Zen Baron. Hello. He says
What's
hello.
up, buddy? What's up, Zen?
Brian Priest says a dirty fighting is taking your drunk friend's keys and not letting them drive. No need to eye poke or headbutt.
Yeah.
Old school karate guy says hello, hello back. And
Hey.
Spark Negative says bare knuckle gypsy boxing. Not sure what that the comments for, but I don't know if that's dirty fighting. Maybe you can elaborate on that. And then Zen says, imagine an angry customer trying to approach and threaten you, and you lose your job. Oh well. Oh, on your comment about you kicking the guy in the parking lot, being
Yeah.
told dirty fighting that you could only punch.
Yeah. Yeah. But he didn't. Yeah. And the funny thing was, he would get mad if like we kicked someone out and the guy like cussed at us or threatened us, like or challenged us, and we didn't take him up on it because then he honestly thought, I swear to God, you could ask anyone that worked at Sagebrush Cantina in the mid '80s. Um, he thought it made his establishment look weak, and he wanted to be known as having the toughest bouncers around in the valley, San Fernando Valley. And it's kind of weird because Calabasas, we used to have guys, Hell's Angels, a lot of rough guys came in, but it was also Calabasas, where huge a majority of that town is mega rich movie stars. The Kardashians live in, Calabasas, and I've seen movie stars coming in all the time, but it is weird. So I think we have that down pretty well. Um, and when I say we, I mean the pit. Not to brag too much, but I think we have a rough Hawaiian Kempo system, and Hawaiian Kempo is rough. It's like Kaji Kempo minus the kata. And but we also have a fight team, and I've never had fight team guys get dirty, but sometimes I have my Hawaiian Kempo guys go too clean. Like if they're on the ground in a weird position, they don't think sometimes. So we have to let them know because they follow MMA so much that they're used to fighting clean rules, and they have to realize as soon as somebody's face is here and it's a life or death situation, he should be missing a nose like this. If your fingers anywhere, if he's got underhooks and your thumbs are here, you should be going right for the eyes. I mean, and some people don't do that instinctively, and that's more of a problem for me, making my guys fight dirty than it is for my fighters fighting dirty. You know what I mean? Because my fighters never fight dirty, but my Hawaiian Kempo guys fight too clean. Because once it hits the ground, this is not a BJJ match. It's not a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu match. It's not an MMA match. It is a I want to get home to my family match, and that's it. So the we have a harder time instilling dirty fighting into our students than we do, having to monitor it, if you know what I mean. So
Spartan No Negative elaborates that bare knuckle gypsy boxing is a mix of fighting, kicking, and punching. I'll have to check that out sometime. Um, yeah. So I guess one of my questions that I always ask, and I've asked you this before, but I forgot which episode or what we were talking about at the time. How do you, at that point, because obviously you can't dig your fingers into your sparring partner's eyes. So how do you train that without hurting the other person? your person you're training?
Sim- just like we do, um, like to the chin. We control everything, and I don't want my people practicing it. We have technique, we have things to practice at. Like Bob is really good for practicing dirty fighting. Bob is the best, but we just want simulate, and we want to visualize. I just want your mind there. Like anytime I get body locked, and we do body lock defense, which is pretty much similar to the MMA except for the eyes, because somebody has double unders and you have double overs. That's one time you have an advantage if you can poke the eyes. Because if you can't poke the eyes, they have the biggest advantage because they're in a better position. But just to stimulate that and think of that all the time, that's what I want. Because when it comes into the real fight, you don't really have to practice it that much. You don't have to practice eye gouging. It comes naturally. You don't have to practice biting. You do it every time you eat. You know what I mean? It's like you're hitting the punching bag with your teeth. You know what I mean? You're chewing, right? But so that's my thing is that they should just think of that, because I think coming into my gym, most guys don't think of those type of techniques, those dirty techniques that they need to defend their life. If somebody's got you in half, that's one reason we don't practice much half guard, is because if somebody's on top of you in half guard, you can pretty much do whatever you want to their face, including taking a chunk out of it. Now, if they have you mounted, if they can posture up, they can pound the shit out of you. Now, if you can buck forward and you know how to grip, underhook them, and you can get to their face, right? Then you have a big advantage. We also do a lot of mount escapes too. But so there's that mount. The mount can be dangerous if postured, not as dangerous when they're down here. Guard is kind of in between. Depends on where you have the person. So we work on all this in our Hawaiian Kempo class. I try to instill it in people, but a lot of my Hawaiian Kempo guys also grapple for fun, or some of them actually compete. So a lot of them are more into the grappling technique, and that's fine. So that's how we do that. And that's how I separate the two. Like we don't do much guard stuff because of that. We barely do any half guard because of that. We do a lot of mount escapes and back escapes. Somebody has your back, boom, you can't. I mean, you're not going to be biting anything if they have their arm under yours. They're going to choke you. You're done, unless you learn. So that's one of the very few submissions that we spend a lot of time, defending, is because once they get your back, bada bang, but there's not too many other things that lead to that. So to me, that's dirty fighting. And they use that term a lot, live clean, fight dirty. I like to say train hard, live clean, fight dirty. But a lot of the Kaji Kembo guys like to do that. So they like to use that terminology. Bing.
So, and then for we normally ask the viewers to ask us questions, but I'm gonna ask I'm gonna ask you folks, because I don't know if the guys or girls. I'm sure there's a mix. What do you consider fighting dirty? Go ahead and throw it out there. Also, if you have any questions about this, throw them out there too.
Yeah.
So here's something I see online a lot. Whenever I start talking about back take escapes, and they're talking about a Kajikembo guy, a lot of Kajikembo guys will say to bite the forearm. So like when they open up, to bite the arm that's trying to choke you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it'll get you killed. That will get, if you waste your time, like for instance, if someone has you in a body lock, right? Their arm is around your waist, they can pick you up and launch you, right? And kill you. Okay. And you just think about going for their eyes right away. You're gonna die, because you have to first address the hips. And if you can't separate your hips from theirs, bite all you want, gouge all you want, you're gonna go head first into the concrete and probably end up dead if they want you to. Same thing in the back. You can't fight the person, you have to fight the submission. Okay. You have to. Just like if somebody has you mounted, you can't fight the person, you have to fight the position. Once you can fight that position, then you can either escape, hurt them with some kind of gouging, biting, right? Or reverse. But until you beat, you have to beat this. You can't beat the person. You can't. I've seen it happen twice in my entire MMA life. I've seen two guys knock people out that were on top of them. Okay. The rest of the time, you have no hips because they're sitting on them. You have no power, so you have to fight the position, not the attacker. And when someone's behind you, you have to fight the submission, not the attack. Again, I've had guys gouge him back, hit him, gouge him in the eyes back there. You're gonna die. You're just gonna die. You have to fight this arm that is strangling you, and you have to be safe before you think about biting or whatever. Then bite away if you can. But first, you have to know some real basics on how to, get the arm out, get your position out, maybe your position as well. So you want to do that. So if you think you're just going to bite your way out of a rear choke, you're going to die. And if you think you're just going to gouge your way out of a mount, you're going to die. Right? That is a good one though. Fight submission, not yeah.
Fight the position, not the person. And I think that's really great advice. That goes along the lines of what a lot of people do when they first get into jiu-jitsu. They want the submissions. When someone first starts doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, they want to learn how to do a kimura, an arm lock. They want to go straight for the submissions, and they get frustrated at the idea of position first, position before submission. So it's pretty much, it's the same take on that, but position before attacking, before you do your devastating attack, focus on that position. Some comments. So far nothing. So far nothing is what someone literally said. Do you have anything on this? They say nothing. One person said hair pulling for when they think about fighting dirty hair. I think that might be a problem for me and maybe for John too. I don't know if they can. I don't know how long your beard hairs are.
Here's the hair pulling one. It's the same as clothes, like grabbing someone's gi. The reason you never grab someone's gi in training or somebody's rash guard in training is because you have to put in training, you should be putting yourself in the worst possible scenario that you can. That means the person doesn't have a shirt to grab or a gi to grab. So if you start, then all of a sudden you rely on that, then somebody attacks you in the street and you go to grab, it's not going to be there. So it's better to practice pretending it isn't there than if it is, that's just icing, right? So that's just icing. So that's where to me, that's where that comes in. You know what I mean? You want to put yourself in the worst position, prepare for the worst, pray for the best. If the guy has no hair and you've been practicing hair pulling, you're fucked. But if you don't and he does have hair, you might get to wrap it around like that guy in the UFC 2, I think, and just start pounding his face until the guy tapped out. Yeah, that would be great if everybody had long hair, but they don't. In fact, I bet the majority of the guys that are going to attack you do not have long hair. So you should train to fight people without long hair. And then if that guy does have long hair, use it. Same with a shirt, same with a gi, same with, you get it.
So John Cox, having hair is cocky. That just reminds me of when I first started doing Kaji Kambo, I had at one point I was in a band, so I had long dreadlocks. And my instructor never told me to cut my hair, but he did tell me once when I was sparring that I kept getting popped in the face, and my sparring partner was waiting for my hair to get in my face, and whenever the timing of that would happen, he popped me every time. He's like, yeah, he's timing you need to tie up your hair. I'm not going to tell you to cut your hair, but you need to do something about it because he's fucking you up because you're not managing it properly. And then later I ended up cutting my hair, and then he said when I finally did, he's like, you're going to feel faster, you're going to feel better.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel stronger. But yeah, that's you want to have long hair. I'm not criticizing that. I used to have it too. John Cox, we're about to finish, but John Cox also asks, how would you train law enforcement?
How what?
How would you train law enforcement?
Um, the same thing, but there's a buffer between between biting, gouging, and not. And here's the buffer. In law enforcement, a lot of the techniques like the come alongs and the wrist locks and stuff, they're intended for compliance. Like you want someone to pain compliance usually. So they want you to comply, and they usually have other cops there. They usually don't do that with one rowdy guy that's swinging on you. They usually do that when there's like three or four cops and they give the guy some kind of compliance, move along, right? So there's that. And that's something that's not my wheelhouse. That would be someone like I don't know, some kind of Aikido guy maybe. You know any Aikido guys?
I know
Uh,
I know a few Aikido guys.
so that would be for an Aikido guy, you know. But so there's that. That's the come along. That's post. That's post certified. I don't know what post the acronym is, but it's something police, something training, right? It's called post. You have to be post certified. So their classes all have to fit in to post certified classes. And they're getting softer and softer and softer because there's so many people complaining about, cops getting too rough. So it's post certified. So that's my buffer. If you got somebody there and you got a guy that you can, he's not a life threatening to you. He's just somebody that has to be contained so you can take him to jail or take him wherever, right? So that's one way of teaching. I don't do that. I'm not Steven Seagal. I'm not going to teach that kind of stuff. But now that cop has to be taught just like anyone else that's about to die. If he maybe happens to go out, pull someone over, and they're out in the boonies and no one else is around, and all of a sudden that guy he pulled over is attacking him for his life. Now, fuck posts, fuck what any cameras around are gonna say. You're gonna fight for your life now. You want to go home to your family. You can bite, gouge. You're gonna do the same thing that a civilian does if that's the only thing you can do to get home. You're not going to abide by those post certifications or your policy and procedures that your higher ups are telling you to do. If you pulled someone over on the side of the road, way out in the boonies, it's fucking 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's coming after you like he wants to kill you. Now that guy is just has to. That's when the real self-defense has to start, and that's not post certified. That's if a camera catches you, you might get in trouble. But I'll tell you what, if you don't do it, you probably won't get in trouble, but you'll get dead, and you won't make it home to your family, and you'll be a hero. They'll say he died in the line of duty, but I think you'd rather not die in the line of duty. So there's that.
So just to clarify here, the Peace Officers Standards and Training Program, or
Okay.
POST, the Peace Officers.
Post certified.
That's what he's talking about as far as what the POST acronym means. It's a regulatory program with a responsibility for licensing police officers, ensuring compliance with peace officers, continuing education requirements, and conducting investigations for the disciplining and the licenses of peace officers as specified by Chapter 590 of the RSMO. So that's the acronym, and that's what it means. It's a whole set of standards set by politicians. Old school karate guy says, my hair ran away at 35. And John Cox says, hold on to the hair during the triangle. During a triangle choke, you can use the hair to hold him down. So, yeah.
And that's true. And that's true. but you can't rely on it because what if you can't and you've been practicing with it? You should always practice the worst case scenario and then hope for the best.
And then John Cox also says that Louisiana State troop oh man, that's that's how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? No. Louisiana State troopers put out a warning in regards to MMA fighters. That's interesting. So they're warning the police officers if they I'm not. If you can elaborate that on that, so they're warning them about MMA fighters. So if they have to arrest one, is that what you're trying to say? Maybe you can put a comment. There's a star.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm gonna think yes.
I don't think it should be. I don't know why they're using MMA. Just say if basically what they're saying is if someone is trying to kill us, we're going to kill them, right? I mean that's all it's saying because it doesn't have to be an MMA fighter. It could be somebody who does a double leg takedown. I've been taken down by fucking just by guys that played football in high school. I mean a tackle is a takedown, right? I mean, bang. So I
There
don't
might
know.
even be maybe there because I don't have the context. It might even be warning the police officers about MMA training.
Oh,
Anyone remember War Machine? Question.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't
What
know.
about him?
What about him? I don't know. I don't.
He's in jail, right? I think he went to prison for like life or something. Or I think he killed someone or hurt someone or raped someone or beat up someone or maybe all of the above, maybe one
Oh,
of the above.
oh boy.
It had to do with beating. I know beating a woman, I think.
Oh no, that's not good.
Yeah.
Well, on that note,
Bang.
we want to thank everyone for joining us.
Hey, let everybody know if you go to my link in bio of no yeah, my the link in my bio of my Instagram, I got a 3 video series I'm putting out right now. And it's going to be pretty cool. It's old school. Old school. It's right where the transitioning when Chuck was still coming up. Glover just came on to be his sparring partner. We were all training together, and I got a video of them. Showing some of the techniques that I was teaching, some of the techniques you saw them using in fights. So it's pretty cool. But you got to go to my link in bio of my Instagram. Link in bio.
So there you go. The link is in the bio of
Yeah.
Instagram. Again, I said this last week. It's under Pitmaster underscore, but you can also just type in John Hackleman. He does come up. Yeah, okay. John does clarify at the very end. Yes, if they have to arrest an MMA fighter, they have to be prepared to use a higher level of control. That was the warning they gave the police officer. All
And
right.
that's stupid to say because what they should be saying is what about a much bigger guy? What about a guy that can bench press 600 pounds? What about something like that? What about a huge guy? So basically they're saying if it's a bigger threat, physical threat, then they're gonna take it to the next level. But they should anyway. Why wouldn't they in the first place? If their life's in jeopardy, they should protect their life at all costs, right?
Yeah, that should be a given. MMA fighter or not. How you? It's like sorry, I'm going to drag this on. And how are they going to know, right? Unless they just got done with and they're coming out of an event and they're still wearing their MMA shorts. How are you going to know a guy is an MMA fighter? Like, he's just out for drinks. Well, you look for cauliflower ears, and some of them don't have cauliflower ears. That's kind of hard to. If you're a police officer, I'm trying to figure out how they're going to designate. Oh, this guy does MMA. By the
Oh
time
yeah. What if they go by
out,
his cauliflower ears? That's what are you calling, right?
what profile?
Stereotype.
That's
Profiling,
profiling.
yeah.
That's profiling.
That's racist. That's exploited.
Right?
Well, that's exploited. Why aren't they looking out for football players?
Right. So like again, you should like a better rule is just, if you're a police officer, just always be prepared to use a higher level of control.
You should always, hopefully you don't have to, but if you do, it better be in your toolbox or you're fucked.
Yeah. All right. For real this
All
time
right.
every week. Or in Dagestan. Every week, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We are gonna talk off camera. Hopefully we stop this stream in time about the time change is coming. The time change.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that later and what that means for you followers and viewers. Thank you so much. This is Angelo Ferrer. Catch you all later.
Aloha.